Good morning from Australia. Hi, David. Have a great show.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Let me know if you've logged on. We're going to have a bit of meditation today and some readings. Let me know if you want a reading. I'm just straightening my screen. I am coming to you from the most glorious day. It's just beautiful. And I think the whole year we wait for weather like this. And it's kind of interesting how it's so short-lived, it's so ephemeral. We just have this moment in time, the perfect day. And I think for about a week or two, we've almost every day has been like the perfect day. So it's so wonderful right now. Good energy, beautiful outside, blue sky, sun. It's not too hot. It's just like the ideal, like kind of summer weather perhaps, but here it's actually winter, but we are entering autumn, so we have a bit of different weather. And Stu, welcome from Florida. That's great to have you, Stu. And I was talking to Debbie before the show about guilt and innocence and judgment and how these things circle around and structure our reality, how we view other people, how we view ourselves, and how we're on a bit of a spectrum. All of us are on a bit of a spectrum of a certain amount of complexity. We're not 100% perfect. Nobody is. We make mistakes. So we are, in the Bible, they called everyone sinners. I think that's a bit harsh because the baby's born new, brand new. And I don't believe that. I don't believe a baby's born in sin. And it's not a positive way to view the world. We're all sinners. It's just that we're imperfect. So that's more accurate. We are imperfect and we make mistakes. And how does one handle mistakes? How does one deal with mistakes? So people often judge themselves more than other people judge them. And if someone does do something bad or wrong, or what do we do with that? Because I think that's a big question. And in the mindset of humanity at the moment, social media is bringing forward these concepts and topics in such a punitive way that someone is being judged in the media. They're being judged in the sort of zeitgeist of social media. This phenomenon that moves around and says that person's this person's that. And it decides what people are, and it's very can be very judgmental. And I was watching someone who I found on YouTube, and I was watching them talk about other YouTube presenters, and in a very judgmental, cruel way, she was saying they're terrible, they're ridiculous, they're horrible. And then I looked at her website, and I thought, well, you're also promoting yourself the same way other people are promoting themselves. And what makes you this arbiter, this judge of other people being bad? And I thought reality and truth are very complex, and it's very easy to judge and to make things black and white and to dismiss people. Because I've been dismissed by people just based on you're male, or we don't like the way you look, or you remind us of this. And I find in my personal life, often people have dismissed me, they've looked at me, oh, we don't want you, or whatever it is, for whatever judgments. And I know with the history of racism, of course, this is a common feature of racism, of people being dismissed based on the color of their skin, for instance, which is a horrible idea. And of course, we have a lot of sexism, people being dismissed based on their sex, their male or female, or whatever it is, people who are on the spectrum. Everyone is on the spectrum, actually, but to some extent, we share the spectrum with each other of gender and sexuality, of being expressing ourselves in different ways. I think, which is a wonderful thing. I think it's something to be celebrated. However, what I'm saying is judgment is such a big thing, and even even as a male, so many times I'm dismissed because I'm male, you know, like, and it's so don't think that this judgment, this persecution energy is sort of only in one direction, because it really isn't. It seems to have extended to men, where there's a lot of negativity thrown at men, and some of that is perhaps a healthy response to history, because it was the other way around historically, with women being subjugated and pushed down. So it's interesting now, it's kind of the shoes being put on the other foot. It's trending in another direction. It is an interesting topic, and very controversial perhaps, of what the value we put on a man, the value we put on a women, because society now, and perhaps historically, has a certain reverence for a woman, because she is the holder of life. She holds life, fertility, the future of humanity. She has that within her, and she has only, you know, you have a baby, it takes a long time, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 20 years. It's a lifelong endeavor for that mother to take care of the child, to bring that into the world. It's a long-term project. If we look at a man, the man's role is very short-term, and we just look at it physiologically and think, how has this affected our psychology about men and women? The fact that men have, you know, thousands and thousands of sperm, and a woman has only one egg. This is a profound difference. So what I'm getting to is that we find that legally men are judged much more harshly than women. If a woman sits before a judge, statistically speaking, she gets a much lighter sentence. We're very soft on women as a society. And then statistically speaking, if a black person sits in front of a judge, they're harshed much more harshly than a white person. So we have a few things going on, judging men more harshly than women, and judging black people in a very prejudicial way, which is, and maybe they're different. They're not the same thing. One's being a man, one's being a woman. There's such an image in society of men being strong. Men can take punishment. Men, there's this punitive aspect of viewing men, and we have such a war background in our collective consciousness. This war type thinking of everything being having so many wars in our history. You can just think, well, men were always out there fighting the wars, and the role of men is to go out to war, and sending men out. And you look, even now we have wars that carry on in Ukraine and Russia and places like that, and we send men out to die. We send them out on the front lines. So this is something that's part of our consciousness, that men are somehow what's the word? They're we can lose them. They're easy come, easy go. Whereas women, there's a more of a value on them, as they are the future. They are bringing the future there. And there's nothing, just to talk about these things, I'm not saying it's wrong or right necessarily. I do think we need to moderate our judgments, and we need to be fair. Whatever someone's skin color, they should not be treated in any way differently, and opportunities should be the same for all people. And if you've committed a crime, I don't think, personally, this is just my personal viewpoint, that if you've committed a crime and we decide on the punishments for that crime, I don't believe that a man should be treated differently from a woman. But maybe you feel differently. Let me know in the comments. Welcome to Kim. It's always great to have Kim, because she has such interesting comments and feedback and viewpoints. So thanks, Kim. And I know maybe controversial topics, people don't like to talk about these things or think about these things, but it is the it is a reality now, statistically speaking. There's quite a vast difference that men are punished much more in courts by judges. There's much more punishment, and the same with black people are punished much worse than white people. So, and again, I'm not collating those two. I'm not saying it's the same issue, because it's a bit different. But I just feel we need justice for everyone. We need fairness for everyone. And we have to look at our bias and prejudices and work on them and go, well, be fair to all people. And it's also, I mean, this topic goes further and further, because I know statistically speaking, there's a lot of evidence about people's features, people's aesthetic qualities, good-looking people getting opportunities that other people don't get. So good-looking people getting treated with reverence, whether it's getting in restaurants, getting jobs, getting promotions, being paid more. Statistically speaking, good-looking people get paid more than the rest of us. So things like that, it's very interesting how that works. And what do you think about that? Is that something we should be condoning? We should be promoting this pushing, elevating people who are good-looking and treating them differently than other people. And I know there's a lot of, I remember my mother telling me growing up at a certain age, she said, oh, she misses how it used to be, because she was reaching a certain age where people weren't paying attention to her features anymore. And she said, oh, she used to be treated so well by everyone, and everyone smiled at her and gave her things and welcomed her when she was young. And when she got to middle age, she said now people don't even look at her. Men don't pay attention to her. Everyone doesn't look at her, and it's quite a change. So have you experienced that? And of course there is a vanity, and there is this kind of perspective of a 20-year-old who thinks they have the world at their feet and they can do anything they want, and they can have anything they want. And then when they reach 40, 50, 60, they're on the other side of that. And so morals and virtues are really important to teach people, to treat people equally, treat people fairly, always come from kindness and compassion, and soften the tone sometimes, because I think people are very extreme in social media, hysterical, dramatic, just very, very black and white sometimes. And Caryn, hey, where are you, Caryn? And so people are very punitive online, and the complexities, for me, that's the most important thing, that we have to be able to hold different truths at the same time. We have to be able to hold that I'm a human being, and you could put 100 labels on me, and I'm not any one of those labels completely. You can say 100 things about me, and those can all be true. And the same politically, this divisiveness of one side is right, the other side's wrong. It's so ridiculous. If we think of the conservative side as conservative and the liberal side as liberal, those two aspects are valuable and important, conservative values and liberal values. And you look at the values of that and the energy of that, and you think that's wonderful. Promoting new ideas, developing new ideas, evolving, creating. The side of the liberal side, being open-minded, in psychological terms, the open-mindedness is the trait of the liberal side. And the conservative side is more, it's a more conservative worldview. There tends to be more about a long-term safety, what works, what has worked in the past, keeping things secure. Security is a big aspect. Keeping things stable, stability is a big aspect. So you could almost say, unstable is the wrong term, but stable versus unstable. Freedom versus responsibility. That's probably the best contrast. So if we think of liberal as freedom, and the right and the conservative as security, or responsibility, perhaps that freedom. So bringing that together, freedom and responsibility and freedom go together. With freedom comes responsibility. We need both. We need them to be in balance. So that's ultimately the point I'm coming to. We need those sides in balance. We need a sense of non-duality, or a sense of respect for different perspectives, a sense of needing a balance. We pay people fairly, respect people, honor people. But if we don't have a certain structure, then things can get then things go awry. And I see that. I follow a bit of football news, and I see a lot of these things going on in the footballing world, where things are very out of balance to how we need the moderation, we need the middle ground. So people get paid an insane amount of money, and it's very unhealthy often, because it goes to their head. They go a bit crazy. They stop not performing on the field, which is why they're getting paid all the money, and things just snowball from there. So I'm reading the comments. Caryn, Debbie, actually there's a lot of truth to that. What I do is dress up 5 days a week, iron my clothes, perfume up, and dressy shoes. It works as the compliments flow. I create my own attention. And that's beautiful, Debbie, because we have this ability to fashion our life, fashion our conditions, and fashion our appearance as well. And we do have that choice. And it does make a statement. It says, well, I'm caring about myself. I care what I look like. And it affects how you feel. You put on a beautiful new shirt. It does have an energy to it. Everything has an energy to it. So it's all about the balance. And Caryn's in California, so that's beautiful. Debbie says, create your own magic, be your best authentic self. So the great messages there. And the clothes are not designer, but clean. And it's amazing, because where I grew up in South Africa, it was extraordinary on a Sunday if you went to a church and you saw how people dressed. And a lot of the people were very poor. And on Sunday, they put up their best clothes and their best face, and they looked really elegant, and it was really special. And whatever your status, your personal wealth, you can always make an effort. You can always put the right step forward, and so it is a possibility. Every day is a church day. The clothes are not designer but clean. And I think we have some spam on the in the comments. So what I'm talking about is complexity, and not having this idea of right and wrong about things, being open-minded, hearing different perspectives, and holding two things as true. So holding compassion, for instance, compassion is a big thing. Some people have this compassion, and that's beautiful. It's wonderful. And then needing a bit of balance. So if we're just compassionate, then things are out of balance. So this is a big thing I see nowadays with people just wanting to be compassionate, and not really realizing that we need both. We need a sort of front door. We have a front door. We lock our front door. So that's not saying we're not compassionate. It's just there's a certain boundary. There's a certain need for stability, security, permanence. And some of it is self-created. We are creating these energies. So if you perpetuate fear, then it can also bring that energy into your life. So it is a spiritual angle as well, that we are creating our own reality. However, importance that I highlight is having different perspectives alive in our minds, that this is true and this is true. 2 things or 3 things or 5 things or 100 things. As I said, to qualify, to describe a human being, they're not one thing. They're not one thing. There are many things. And even the worst people ever, they still had some good qualities. They still had some talents. They still had some things where maybe they had a dog and they loved their dog, and you thought they were a tyrant and a dictator and evil, but actually they were really nice to their dog. So just hold different perspectives, hold different thoughts, hold different ideas at the same time. That's really, really important. And many times people don't like themselves, and it shows in how they present themselves, their posture, in the clothes that they wear, in the value they put on their appearance, because it's not black and white. If you have 6 facelifts, that I would say that's out of balance. But if you want to just have a nice haircut and wear a nice hat and a nice shirt or dress, I think that's elegant and valuing yourself and putting yourself forward. So there's good in everyone. There's also bad in everyone. We all have weaknesses and strengths, and judgment is a big issue. How we judge people, and why do we need to judge people? Sometimes we do. There's a certain necessity to understand that safety is important, and we have a need to look out and see, is there any threat? Is there any threat to our life? Is there a threat to our security? So we need to have a certain vigilance, and in certain parts of the world, we need more vigilance. So be realistic by all means. And Kim says, I try to treat all people as equal, no matter who they are. But never know if a homeless man on the street was at one time a very important person, either in this lifetime or even another life. And that's a beautiful thing, Kim, because we don't know where people come from, depending on your spiritual beliefs, what that soul has chosen to experience, what they've come to experience, what they had to express in the world, what they had to express to you. Perhaps they are there to show other people compassion, to teach other people compassion. Perhaps they are here as part of a lesson from a previous lifetime where they had a lot of abilities which they wasted, and now they're being shown not having opportunities, not having possibilities, and the feeling that provides them. So depending on your karmic viewpoints and your beliefs in past lifetimes, future lifetimes, I think most people believe in a soul, that there is a soul or an aspect of a soul or a fragment of a soul. In Kabbalistic tradition, we're not necessarily one entity as a soul. The soul can fragment off into different people, into different experiences. It's not just held inside one body, for instance. And our soul can travel. It's not tied to our physical body. And Debbie says, I walk away from confrontation as a lot of times it is misinterpretation and no tolerance. One problem with society is we don't get to know people. Yeah, absolutely. And people are rushing to make judgments, rushing to decisions, rushing to assess people based on something. Could just be your name or the color you're wearing. Very quick judgments, which are very superficial, and these big bold brush strokes, and just not really taking time to get to know each other and opening your mind as well, that because someone is imperfect doesn't mean that we should dismiss them and say, I'm not talking to you. To actually give people more of a chance and soften your heart, because even if you had a bad experience with someone, and I talk as a man with a lot of women, I notice they really dismiss other men or push them away because I assume they had a bad experience with a man and they've applied this perspective onto other men, and men can feel that kind of energy, and you don't know because you had a bad experience doesn't mean all men are like that, and there's more to life than just a simple judgment of being a man. There's more to the soul than something that maybe you saw a quality in a man you didn't like, and therefore you apply that to all other men. Do artists believe in soul? I've read different thoughts. I don't understand that question, Debbie. Do artists believe in soul? Because there's many artists, so each artist would have their own perspective. How do you feel about universal laws? Karma is one example, for instance. So I believe there are certain limitations on what we're here to experience. So there are, call it universal laws. So in one way we can defy any law. Our mind is limitless. So in my mind, I can be winning a gold medal at the Olympics every time, every day, all the time. I can be in my mindset winning the Olympic Games. So that experience is real. From my point of view, it's a real thing. It's a real experience. However, from your point of view, it's something that you can see as that's not real. You're not winning the gold medal at the Olympics. Your eyes are closed. You could really dismiss people's experiences and say they're not real. But the mind isn't limitless. We're able to experience different worlds, travel, soul travel, astral travel. We're able to move as a soul, and we're not stuck in one body. We're not stuck in one paradigm, in one dimension, in one perspective. However, in this physical body, in the 3D paradigm, I am observing certain physical laws. With the mind, a lot of them are, we can actually, I believe we can actually walk on water if we have the mindset that allows us to do that, which would really take an exceptional ability to transcend the physical laws. So physical laws are there. They do operate. There is an ability to transcend them. Karma, there's some aspects of karma. It's a little bit misunderstood as punishment, perhaps. There's a certain energy that we can send out, that we receive, that we have done before, and I see it as a patterning, and I see a soul as choosing to come into this world for a certain experience. So we choose our experiences. We come for certain experiences. So I see this as a school for experience. We're here to experience things. So we're not necessarily here to learn things, because we, as a soul, we actually pretty we're pretty extraordinary as souls. So it's not like we come, our soul is needing to learn all these things. That we're here to experience things in a physical body and learn from that experience, which is different from being in a soul, or in what people call heaven, or in the heavenly realm, another dimension that's non-physical. This is a physical dimension. So we are dealing with physical laws. So Kim, I could go on. I don't know if that answers your question. And Debbie said many times people are just afraid of you, and vice versa. Yeah, there's a lot of fear. And that's so true. So it's important we soften a little bit, soften our fears. I'm not sure about what you mean by atheists. Oh, you mean do atheists believe in soul? Okay, I follow you. Do atheists believe in soul? You'll have to ask the atheists, and I don't think they. There's a singular aspect of what that is, because once again we put labels on people, and people put labels on themselves, and people are far more complex and multidimensional than a single label. And they may say I'm an atheist, but then often they are driven by a moral code, because I know an atheist that he's got a very strong virtue, a strong moral code of things he believes in, and things he believes strongly in justice. And so there's a real virtue about some of the atheists. Regarding soul, my sense is that a soul is something non-physical, immaterial, something that we think of within a divine hemisphere, within a divine paradigm or realm. And it depends how we define what a soul is, but my sense is that an atheist would say there is no soul. So that's my sense of that, Debbie. However, we can get an atheist on the show, and they can give their perspective. I think, as I said, you may find every atheist has a slightly different perspective on things, and there's not one. There's not one perspective. There's not a single perspective. And I tend to feel that soul is a certain spiritual realm that we believe is incorporated into this physical reality. We believe it is an intangible part of our essence. Our soul essence is inhabited in this physical body, in this vessel, in this moment of consciousness. We have this interaction with the soul, which is from another dimension, but it's being embodied in our physical body. So there's a alchemy, there's a fusion, there's a synthesis of spirit and matter within this physical body, within the physical realm. Okay, Debbie says you're trying to understand what is way over my head so far. What are you trying to understand, or what wasn't clear? Because I was talking about atheists a little bit, and then what the soul is, perhaps. So I'm not sure what you don't understand. I think we don't need to complicate. We don't need to complicate things. The essence of these topics are quite simple, and get down to, I can sum it up to really simple essences. I was talking about non-duality, not being separated, not being moderating one's viewpoint, allowing complexities, allowing people to hold different viewpoints, having that perspective that this is a whole being that has a soul, that has a journey, an essence, a karma, a background, a choice, a decision. It's a decision-making vehicle, a decision-making vessel that's constantly changing its mind, and that's not a one-dimensional caricature. It's not someone, oh, that person's bad. Dismissing someone like that, or we don't like their political viewpoint, therefore we don't like them. It's kind of not very. It's not a very evolved way to operate. So I would promote having conversations with people and finding out what they think, what their viewpoints are with an open perspective. Just listen, because what you'll find, as I said, is that we need freedom comes with a responsibility. We need both sides, and if you dismiss one side, it becomes chaos. So if you say, oh, we don't need security, for instance, unfortunately, with our current spiritual evolution on the planet, you just invite in chaos. If you say, oh, we don't need a border, well, good luck. So those are the kind of realities of the 3D world. I think Debbie called them the physical laws, the universal laws. There's certain universal laws within this paradigm which can be transcended through spiritual evolution. So through our spiritual evolution, a lot of these paradigms can be transcended. However, one has to reach that level of ascension, reach that level of enlightenment, which is just coming a lot more to people, where they're becoming aware of their multi-dimensional selves, aware of their ability to transcend limitation, with their mind to travel vast distances into different star systems, into different realities, different timelines. And to be aware of this multiplicity of timelines, of different futures, of not being stuck in one particular future, of the idea of multiple possibilities, multiple Earths, which is more a quantum perspective. I find it really interesting. And that's another rabbit hole to go down, about the quantum perspective of multiple Earths, multiple perspectives. And Debbie says, my son's father was one, and he was trying to explain to my son before he died what his belief was. So it'll be interesting what he said, and you'll find there will often be an idea of what works, what doesn't work, what society, what rules we need in order for a society to function. So it'll be kind of a pragmatic idea of this. If society is a car, the car needs this, the car needs that, and that it's a paradigm of pragmatism. This is what's required, without I guess the ideology. That's at least I'm thinking about my atheist friend, and there's a lack of ideology. It's very much about what is the science, and people, I would say there's a trend amongst people more scientific to be atheists. So there's although there's many religious scientists, so it's not absolute. There's just people who are more on the rational side of things, more on the scientific side of things. That I've met some who were atheists, and they were very rational people, very intelligent, and they saw everything in science, all the answers, all the possibilities, and they could be quite romantic about the future, because relying on science is going to cure disease, science is going to cure poverty, science is going to cure climate change, science, everything about science. So that was what I found with interacting with atheists and their ideas. They tended to have a sort of a religious seal about science. Some of them, not all of them, but there tended to be a sort of romanticism about science and a dedication to science. And Debbie says, I agree with that 100%. Kim says, I think atheists do not believe in one God, but they could still believe in the laws of science and other universes. Yeah, and I think it's, without being an atheist myself, I don't know too much about this particular paradigm, but I think I think the communists originally were atheists, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, Kim. This is a beautiful show. Thank you, Debbie. Kim, have you ever heard of a chaos magician? I would love to learn more about that. So, Kim, I haven't heard of a chaos magician. So maybe you can share what you know about a chaos magician. And Heather Johnson, hi. Where are you, Heather? And Debbie says science was a big part. And Kim says Stephen Hawking was an amazing mind. Did you see the film about Stephen Hawking? I really found it quite moving. That was it was so interesting how he was so close to dying, and he just managed to keep living. It was almost like a miracle, and eventually he did pass away, but I think he was in his late 70s, so he had a pretty good life. And he was even married twice, and he had 3 children. So Stephen Hawking was this extraordinary mind, and with this terrible disease, and yet he really lived his life. And I'm just gonna, I think the film. I'm just looking for the film that I watched, because it was about 3 years ago, I think. Oh, wait a minute. The Theory of Everything was 2014, so it's already 9 years ago. And I don't know if you saw that film, The Theory of Everything. Theory of Everything. I thought it was a really wonderful film, and I thought the actor who played Stephen Hawking in that film, Eddie Redmayne, I thought he was really fantastic. I think he's an English actor. So let me know if you watched that film. What did you think of it? So it doesn't look like we have time for meditation. Does anyone want me to do some pick a card? So let me know if you'd like me to pick a card. And thank you, Caryn. And so does anyone want me to pick a card? Otherwise, we can do some kind of meditation. But the important thing is to hold different things as true and valid at the same time. Even sometimes they're opposite things. They can be completely opposite things. The dog needs to go for a walk, and the dog needs to sleep. That's a simple example. I just thought of maybe a bad example. The dog is friendly, but then when the dog sees it's the neighbor's dog, it goes crazy and becomes vicious. So I see these things every day, and people are like, no, my dog is so lovely. My dog is so lovely. And then the dog just like bites, my dog or whatever. And I'm like, okay. We have to just allow different things to be true that can be opposite things. Because I've seen my neighbor's dog, it really is a lovely dog with people. But when it comes to other dogs, it's vicious. It just goes crazy. It bites them. So that's okay. Just allow for the complexity. Allow for even opposite things to be true. That person did something bad, but that doesn't mean they're a bad person, and they have other qualities we can look to. So I'm gonna pick a card for Kim and see if anything's coming through for you, Kim. Oh, Caryn, sorry, Caryn, and then Kim. So Caryn Fischer. Okay. All right. And it's just so beautiful outside. Wow. So there's a bit of a warm glow around you, Caryn. It's a gentle energy, a positive energy, and the energy is saying that this is a beautiful energy that you're not recognizing, you're not celebrating that energy. So that's telling me that it's important for you to recognize your qualities. You have these beautiful qualities, and some of them you're just missing. And as I was talking about all the complexity of the world, it's important for you to recognize the inner beauty that you have, and to be grateful for, even if you have a single blossom in your hand, be grateful for that blossom. See the beauty around you. Don't just focus on the prickly branches of the rose bush. There's these beautiful roses there, and that's you. And there is some challenge. There is some challenge around you, Caryn, with these prickly branches. So it's saying just take the blessings of the flower. The sun is breaking through the clouds. There's a beautiful positive energy coming through for you, and you have a lot to be grateful for. And I do see these qualities in you as being really beautiful and wonderful. But it's just important that you choose your focus, choose gratitude, choose that, and things will flow to you. But there are definitely challenges around you. So I am seeing some hostilities. It's like there's disagreement, there's imbalance. So there is your defenses are up. So this is a bit of a complex situation. So you are engaged in some kind of disagreement, I would say, within your environment. So just be really sensitive to that, and be sensitive to how people are communicating, because I am seeing a bit of backstabbing, unfortunately, because there is a bit of deceit circulating. So really be open, or be clear with your boundaries, be strong with your boundaries. And I'm seeing you walk through the bushes, the rose bushes. So you're coming out of that. Just be careful, be really mindful, Caryn, and remember to appreciate who you are. Appreciate your energy. So thank you for Caryn, and I'm just reading the comments, Debbie. So Debbie, so I'll pick a card for Debbie. So Debbie, there's a lot of value coming within your life, within your world. There's the three cards are around both value and the contractual elements. So there's paperwork, there's contracts to sign. There's a lot of deliberation. There's a value. There's both a masculine figure and a feminine figure. They're both holding value. They're both holding. So there's two elements in your life: a female connection with money and value, and a male connection with money and value. there's a business connection, or this is symbolizing you and your, and there's a male figure as well, and both of you are holding value. So that's a big part of your existence at the moment, that there is this wealth around you and the wealth around the man, that both of you are holding value. So that's concerning how you seek, make choices and decisions. So both of you are taking control of your finances. It's coming together well. There is a contract to be signed. So that's also circling around you. So things are quite, they're in place for you. They are moving forward. There is like a scales of justice, that there's some legal action underway, and it is going to turn out in your favor. It is going to bring in new opportunities. So just be receptive to what is coming into your space, and be aware of boundaries, and things are moving forward. There is a resolution here. It's really about progress. So thank you to Debbie. And so Kim, you don't want a card anymore. I want my reading to be on when and where I'll move to another group home. Okay. So I'll just pick a card for Gabby, or Gabby. Let's just pick a card for Gabby. So there's a real actual community. There's a real community coming forward for you. So really look out for the community, Gabby. That the community is coming. There's going to be a connection with kindred spirits. So I'm seeing women celebrating, sharing ideas and support for each other. So also remember that you have a spirit community, and call on your spirit community, because in a way you could interpret this card as something in the physical realm, but you could also interpret it in a spiritual realm. And I feel both are happening for you, Gabby. So really call on spiritual help as well as physical connection with like-minded people. So it feels like there's a community that's new connections that are happening and coming forward into your life, and there's a sense of new possibilities. So there's a new opening happening for you. So things are definitely the community card. That's very positive outcome, and it says keep moving forward. You are going to move, and it's a community dwelling, and that's positive for you, Gabby. So thank you, Gabby. And let's just see if we can, Kim. Let's just look at Kim quickly. So there's a lot of energy in your solar plexus, Kim. There's a lot of energy coming forward, but also in your throat chakra, your communication chakra. So it feels like you're very busy with issues of self-identity. And so just make sure you focus the energies of radiating vibrant life force energy into your solar plexus, your third energy. You can place your hands over your solar plexus area, breathe into that, breathe in a golden light, because it feels like it needs revitalization. So it needs radiant life force to come into that part of your body. With your communication chakra, let's just have a look at that quickly. Communication chakra, which is here, that's about speaking your truth and self-expression, and that's, we often think of a blue light in the communication chakra. So let the words flow. It feels like you need a journal to write your thoughts, to write your ideas, and it feels like there's a lot of communication happening, and there's a connection with spirit and how you are bringing forth channeling knowledge and information. So just imagining your throat chakra is flowing in a beautiful way. There is a little bit of dissatisfaction in your life. It feels like you feel unfulfilled within you, and that's also something happening at the same time. So it's saying to introduce something that's really going to be joyful and satisfying and bring you that that joy, that inner gratification, that kind of life force energy. So try something new, Kim. It may be something you've done in the past, or something you thought you would quit. But I'm actually seeing dancing, some kind of like salsa, or there's another, what do you call it? Border? No. Dancing. What, the formal dancing, or the, do you know what I mean? There's some dancing clubs, but the couple dancing. So that's what I'm seeing, and I forget what it's called. I know there's different kinds of dancing, and I'm saying that as being really positive for you. There's maybe you have a certain waltz or a certain style of dancing, that contemporary foxtrot, samba. It feels like you have something you already enjoy, type of music you enjoy, and that's going to give you the joy and the sense of fulfillment and balance into your life. So some kind of dance that you enjoy. And ballroom, thank you. That's, I was kind of, what I had boardroom in my mind, and I was like, boardroom, no, it's not ballroom dancing. Yeah, thank you, Kim. So look after those chakras and bring some beautiful energy there. So thank you, everyone, for being online and listening to me talk, and for your beautiful comments, and for everyone being here. And we shall see you next week.